The Trafficking Victims Protection Act of 2000 defines labor trafficking as the recruitment, harboring, transportation, or obtaining of a person for labor or services through the use of force, fraud, or coercion for the purpose of subjection to involuntary servitude, peonage, debt bondage, or slavery. Although labor traffickers do not discriminate when choosing their victims, they do target certain demographics due to their vulnerabilities. There are too many vulnerabilities to list, but here are the top 3. Number 1, homelessness. People with no homes will do almost anything to bring food to the table. Traffickers use this vulnerability to trick their victims to work for them in exchange for a home, food, clothing, and any other necessity. Once the trafficker lures their victim in with empty promises, the victim soon finds out that they were lied to. Instead of a home to live in, they find themselves living in hazardous living conditions, often with other victims. Their traffickers dictate what they do, what they wear, where they go, and who they talk to. Their lives are no longer their own. These victims unwillingly exchanged a hope for a stable job and a warm place to sleep for exploitation and abuse. Number 2, undocumented immigrants. When we think of labor trafficking, we probably think of immigrants coming into the country illegally to work for someone. Although a majority of victims of labor trafficking are domestic, immigrants are still vulnerable. One of the biggest reasons is their need to work and send money to their families in their home country. Hopefully, their families will join them in the U.S., but traffickers will exploit their willingness to work, pay them very little money, or trick them into a debt they can never pay back. Immigrants have a hard time getting out of their situation because of the cultural change. There's a language barrier, but there's also a danger of being deported because they are in the country illegally. Number 3, children. Child labor is not a foreign concept. We hear about child labor when we study the Industrial Revolution in the early 19th century. Now, with child labor laws in place, children are protected from hard labor, and U.S. child labor laws forbid companies to hire children under the age of 16. But children are still vulnerable to be trafficked due to their age. They are easily manipulated, and impoverished families will send their children to earn extra money. Unfortunately, children in these situations will be exploited, and since they are young, they most likely do not know that they are being trafficked. There are many more vulnerabilities traffickers will target, too many to list here, but traffickers will not hesitate to exploit these vulnerable people for their own gain. Mandy Reed, the founder and director of anti-trafficking organization Dear Dina, located in Dayton, Ohio, said, "The way a trafficker works is that they will see these vulnerabilities and they will offer to meet them."